came up. I wanted him to chair the meeting, but I guess I'm chairing the meeting. Before I start this meeting, I want to welcome everybody that's on right now with us. On behalf of the board and to the members of the board, I would like to wish you all a very, very happy New Year, a very prosperous, healthy, peaceful New Year, filled with new hopes, new horizons, and new accomplishments. So, and to my members of the board that are here and are not here, I always am very, very thankful for all your efforts and the work and the devotion and dedication that you do through the course of the year to help trying to make a difference in people's lives. So, ahlan wa sahlan, bienvenue. It's nice to have you. And we are going to start our meeting. And before I do the introduction, you know that last year the board took a decision to work with the Mariam Foundation. The Mariam Foundation that is helping Palestinian children with cancer in Gaza and in the West Bank. And we had the pleasure and honor to have Muhammad Hamada, who's actually the founder and the CEO of the Mariam Foundation. And some of you met him in May when he was here, when we presented a check to the Mariam Foundation for $25,000. We were proud and honored to be their partners. We have taken the decision to move the process forward and stay on a fundraising agenda and campaign to raise money for the Mariam Foundation. And I am very, very pleased. I'm very happy. And before I bring Muhammad on and Hamad, I have to tell you, between May and today, the magnificence and the growth and the work that the Mariam Foundation has been doing, which I have been following and a few of us have been following, is just magnificent. It's tremendous. They are the politicians, they are the academics, they are the physicians, they are the connectors, having to work with military to get permits for children from Gaza to go, not to Israel. They're not allowing them to go to Israel. 90% of the children normally are treated in Israel hospitals, but to Jordan. And I want to congratulate the Mariam Foundation for the first few children that they have taken to Jordan, Amman, Jordan, where they have signed an MOU with Al Husseini Hospital. So congratulations, Alf Mabruk, and ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce you to and have Mr. Muhammad Hamad. And Ernst, by the way, that's sitting next to him, he actually runs the foundation. He's like my Bob Kalfresh, okay? You know, we are just the face, but they're doing that do all the work. So it's good to have you both on board. Muhammad, you look very tired, man, but the floor is yours.
Thank you, Shawky. Thank you so much. Okay. So hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. So first of all, I would like to apologize in front of all of you to Shawky that I was really busy last month, but Ernest and CIDO and Shawky and everybody is working 24/7 on this collaboration. It's not even a collaboration to me; it's a family now. The dedication of Shawky and the CIDO team and all of you is really remarkable. To feel that there is someone who is thinking of our efforts and helping us in this really crucial times. And as Shawky said, since October 7 till now, there was 10,000 cancer patients in Gaza without treatment. Many of them, almost half of them, died because they lack of treatment. And the rest is we were helping them in food packages and in many projects as much as we can, because it's very hard to get in food into Gaza, or even to help them in any way. So as Shauki said, we did many parts as politicians, and as very, we did many projects for sending them medicine through the Augusta Victoria, and through also the direct relief. We sent one truck of medicine, and the second one will be we will send it, and I think in this month, in January, expected we will send another $580,000 of medicine. Also, we have a new project that started this week of feeding those cancer patients who are stuck in the tents in every in a weekly basis. Today we had the approval to have another to feed another more than 300 patients there. And the most important and I think remarkable achievement for the Mariam Foundation, that we were successful in convincing the Israeli military after many begging and explaining the situation, and they know that they are the reason of the situation, to evacuate the children of children of cancer patients in Gaza to Amman, because they refused to get back to their treatments in Israel or in West Bank. So there were some NGOs that took the wounded children and the wounded people to the US, and we were in charge with the Hussein Foundation in Amman, and the Hussein Center and the Hussein Hospital in partnership, to send them to evacuate them from Gaza to Amman. I think we will be in the upcoming month. Our aim is to evacuate more than 300 patients. Until now, there was the first evacuation that they have 8 patients and their families. And now I think 3 days ago I was with the military, and they promised us that this month we will have another 20. So it's like every month I think we will evacuate maybe 20, 25 children. They are allowing us now only to evacuate children and women. There is no, like, even they cannot even think or negotiate of evacuation, if evacuate young men even. And even there were many children who are also refused to evacuate. Like, for example, it works like this: we send them a list of 50 patients. They will accept maybe 15 of them or 20, and the rest is not allowed to go out until now. So we do it again and again.
What is the age group, the range of ages of the children?
The age is like from, I think, like 1 month till 16-year-old, 15 years old to them. But until now, the people we were successful to evacuate, I think there were from 4 to 9 or 10 years old. And unfortunately, they are allowed to evacuate only with one companion. And most of them are not with their parents. They don't want their parents to be with them. So it's with their, like, one of them is their grandmother, a friend, someone who is not related sometimes. So it's very hard times. So the evacuation needs, first of all, money for the transportation. Also, when they get to Amman, we put them in a hotel. We are in charge of all their emotional status, and also we have programs for them to help them. When you meet a child getting out of Gaza, I was in the first evacuation. I cannot explain the feeling that you have. We are very, like, it's heartbreaking. You feel that this is a great achievement. At the same time, you are very sad, and it's very heartbreaking to listen to the children and what they suffered. And most of them have they lost a good, like, a relatives, or mother or father, and it's devastating. So now, after we are in charge of the transportation, of the hotel, of the food, of everything in their time in Amman. Also, we and the Hussein in our name, they are fundraising also to bring money for the treatment. They already are treating. We have the official partnership with the Hussein Hospital. They are treating them there, uh, and uh, and we were successful in this. But at the same time, we cannot say it's a huge achievement. But at the same time, it's very sad. We still have a long way to go, and so many projects to do for them. And I hope, and we all pray that today or tonight or tomorrow or this week we will have the ceasefire. And I think after the ceasefire, the work will still like I think the real work will begin after the ceasefire because this is what's happening now is like people without homes, people without hospitals, people without. So I think that the real work is the real exam is to keep talking about Gaza and keep helping Gazans. And even the Mariam Foundation that is working with everybody else, we are only focusing now on Gaza because this is a crucial time for Gaza, and we need to be there with those people and with our people. So what we did until from 7th of October till now, we helped in almost with medicine and food packages in more than $1 million, and with the evacuation still going on. Soon we will tell you how much we are also spending. Thank you. I'm not going to talk now about Mariam and what they are doing in other projects and other aspects because I think all of you do. If you, I can also send you all to read more about Mariam, but so I think it's better to focus on Gaza in this meeting. Thank you again. It doesn't matter how much money you helped us to, how much money you gave us, or how much money you will give us. But the most important thing here is that all of you are having like this time and time of your like having the ability and having the willingness to help the Mariam Foundation in this cause. It really makes us really proud and happy. And always remember that you are on the right side of history.
Thank you. It's impossible not to be emotional and listen to you. Does Amman have appropriate pediatric cancer facilities?
Yes, it's one of the best. I think it's one of the best in the Middle East. It's like similar to the Tel Aviv one and the Haifa, and it's they are our partners 4 years ago, and it's one of the best. It's a private hospital. It's one of the most prestigious in Jordan, and it's related even to the royal family. So it's like the king, the royal family also are treated in the same hospital. And we were there. We know everything. We are supervising everything there.
It's safe to say that the Husseini Hospital is the largest, best hospital in all of Jordan.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you very much for this very comprehensive report. And
so just if I may, do they give you reasons why they reject large number of children from being transferred, or it's just arbitrary?
Yeah, well, this is the same question that I want to answer. Like, the irony of the thing that like last week I was sitting. Actually, we were all the time having all the meetings with the military by Zoom, and it was better because we don't want to sit with them. But last week it was the first time I saw them face to face, and we were in Tel Aviv, and we were sitting all the time with a nonprofit called Israel, and negotiating with the Israel, and they are the one who are helping us to negotiate with the military. But last week it was really important, the meeting with the military, and we were 3 hours with them, and they gave us a paper of all the patient who gonna refuse and all the patient who gonna approve. And the one we were sitting with, his answer was like about the same question we asked them. He said that this is not like I'm only like a secretary here. This is an order. I cannot say anything, and I don't really know why. And I'm really sorry that we are treating them as numbers. They were like saying, like, okay, number 7 is refused, number 8 is approved, and in the end of the meeting, it's like, I'm sorry, like I'm talking about them as numbers, but this is the reality, and they're not telling us anything. And you cannot even ask them why this boy is refused. You just like, okay, if they give you an approval, you have to be happy, and if they give you a refusal, you have to be quiet.
Sorry, could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much for this. I've been learning a lot about the work that you've been doing, and had an opportunity to talk with you a little bit the other day. I'm interested, your stories, your passion, the experience of watching the children come across, and that really is very powerful and emotional. I'm on the side of trying to bring more people to this cause through donations, through their advocacy. And those stories are very powerful. Are we able to get examples of volunteers or of families, not necessarily to identify them specifically, but the more emotive detail, the better, because it helps to reduce the miles between people who are sitting comfortably over here and understanding, empathizing for what's taking place.
Yes.
So yes,
We have many stories, and we can send you. We also have videos of them speaking, and we can and in English. So anything you need, you can contact like Ernest. He will help you in sending you all the details, and we have everything you want. In the same time, if anybody, because like not everyone, like especially the people in Canada, they are new to the Mariam Foundation. So we are very, very, very confident of our work and of our transparency. So anybody who wants to send money or want to donate and who want to help in any way, not only money, he can ask whatever he wants, and he can ask about our audits, about our interior, all the audits, all the papers, anything you need, even the money that CIDO sent last year. We have all the transfer of what we did in this money. So there is like everything is very clear. So to make your work better, if you need anything, don't hesitate to ask. And if you need also emotional stories, it's not like even this is not like even last week I wrote something on Facebook. I saw many pictures of people and designers are using AI to promote what's happening to Gaza. So I was like angry. So you don't even have to use AI or our imagination or computer to make it more drama. But it's really bad. So we have everything you need. If you want, like just like tell us exactly how many stories you need. And also the people who we are already evacuated, we have their testimonies. We have videos, we have pictures, everything.
Yes, I think maybe, Joanne, we should move into the fundraising strategy right now, being that we're on it, okay? And have you talk about it, I'll go back to the CIC partnership after that, but being that we started, so Joanne and Ernst are gonna connect together, okay? Regarding all of the stuff that we're talking about, because we have been working since November on a new strategic plan, and strategic application and for fundraising. When it's all said and done, it will become a magnificent tool that Mariam will be able to use overseas. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm going to turn it over to Joanne.
I can also suggest maybe something like now. I think in the spring or in May, maybe, or in the upcoming month, we can also together, like our efforts and your efforts, we can maybe uh, uh, prepare for a fundraising event or maybe a concert. We have many international singers, Palestinian singers, and very professional singers, and people who are very well known worldwide that we can bring to Canada, and we can do something together as CIDO and Mariam to boost this initiative.
Okay, that's good. That's good.
Can I mention one thing before we go to the fundraising? Is that okay? Okay. Thank you, Muhammad. That's a very clear presentation. I just observing and noticing the story that you are bringing to the table. And the way that the army, they are using for 75 years, you need to be obedient. This is our way or the highway. So basically, I am a researcher on Canadian citizenship education. So we need to move ourselves from being obedient to being responsible for humanity. If we change the narrative and we approach this narrative for being responsible for humanity and bring those questions to the government of Israel, to any people who is controlling people like animals, so then we can change the narrative of those stories. I think we need to look at psychologists, psychotherapists, internal family system of the person. That's the only way we can move forward as culture, as people looking to move us to respect ourselves and tell the world we are human. You need to respect us. Give us your choices.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I agree 100%, and I think this is something like it's a bigger project that you're talking about, and it's changing the narrative not only for the Mariam Foundation, for all our cause and the Palestinian cause. But we as the Mariam Foundation, a little example of this, that we didn't take the answer of no, because most of the foundations here, when they heard about, in the beginning of the war, in the beginning of the genocide, it's not a war. They were all talking about that nobody can talk with them, nobody can convince them, nobody can do anything for evacuating children, helping the children. We didn't take no as an answer, and what we did is that we were connected with the American embassy. We did stories, we did advocacy, we sent them, we were like, we knocked their door 100 times before they answered us, and before they are convinced now to evacuate these little part of like maybe 100%, maybe 2% of the children. But so what you are talking about is that, yeah, we have the right to do this, and we have the right to change the narrative, and we cannot. Yeah, you're right.
It's a start with our own story, the stories from the kids, and support the humanitarian common good for everybody.
Yeah.
And
you're Ilham Farah. Do you know that Ernest is Farah too?
Ernest Farah?
Yes.
So are you from Nazareth?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then we are relatives.
Probably, yes.
He's our project manager. He's the COO.
Well, also, unfortunately, I didn't realize that my cousin who passed away, Suhair Shuha, she was working with you.
Oh, really? Suhair is, wow.
Yeah.
Your cousin?
Unfortunately. She's my cousin,
Wow.
Bint Khali.
Suhair is my best friend, and she was one of the founders. Yeah. She was one of the management members and the co-founders of the Mariam Foundation.
Too bad. We missed her. Yeah.
Yes.
God bless her soul.
She was remarkable. She was so sensitive, and
she was
very. She's an angel.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm interested to look at this area with any fundraising to change the narrative in any brochure.
Don't you worry, Ms. Ilham. You and Joseph, not only you. I'm going to turn it over to Juan to give us a very quick synopsis on our strategic fundraising by actually explaining what it is going to do, and how it is going to work, and how it is going to be very beneficial for not only, we're using CIDO as a pilot for this application, okay? We explained that to you, Ernst, and when it's all said and done, I think it's going to be a very, very powerful tool for non-for-profit organizations for fundraising. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Joanne. Joanne's life has been into fundraising. She was at the University of Waterloo How many years were you there?
I was there 5 years.
5 years, but she was all over the world. I don't want to. I can't even remember between Hong Kong or
It
between.
will take a long time.
Okay. But-
She's a Laurier grad. That's the most important thing.
Absolutely true. Thank you,
Okay,
Dr.
Bob.
That was Dr. Rosehart, who was the former president of Laurier University. Go ahead, Joanne.
Thank you very much, Shaki.
Speak
First of
up a
all,
little bit.
I will. I'll do my very best.
Okay.
First of all, I just want to commend everyone on this call. Certainly, Mohammed and Ernst, your work is incredible. The more I learn about it, really, truly inspired and excited by what you're doing. But I have had the opportunity to know Shaki for the last, I think about the last 5 to 6 years. I've been really inspired by the work that has been done by the CIDO Foundation, by the caliber of people who are around this physical and virtual table, and the energy that has gone into CIDO. I'm really an admirer. I have had 3 decades of fundraising experience, and it has really it's been interesting. It's boiled down to 3 things. And of those 3 things, it really hasn't been the money first. The 3 things have been about relationships, they've been about an inspiring case, and then they've been about exceptional infrastructure. That the infrastructure brings the people, the relationships, and the case together in a really sophisticated way, in an easy to manage, sustainable way. And then the funds come. If all those 3 things are working in parallel,
Yes, yes.
then the funds come. So I was interested in working with Shaki and with CIDO and with the Miriam Foundation because I have become acquainted with a group that has worked on a new platform that, in fact, the platform itself is woven right into the strategy. And I have never seen this before, where the platform itself, if you set up the infrastructure properly, the case and the relationships just start weaving in, and you begin to be able to get data that informs all the decisions. And so we are at the early stage of building that, again, going back to the 3 elements: relationships, case, and infrastructure. So on the relationship side, we are taking right now 3 approaches. The first is a broad outreach of inspiring people who have not yet been able to find their cause, their way in this particular crisis that we're seeing. I know there are a lot of people who are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s who are indignant about what is taking place. One of them is my son, and I use him often as an example because he has 2 young daughters. And that energy, that empathy, that feeling, but helplessness to find a way to support people on the other side, what feels like the other side of the world, it's an emotion we need to tap into. It's an emotion where if we tap into the younger people, the 20s, 30s, 40s, they can become early donors, they can become monthly donors, they can become regular donors, and over time, they can be donors that can be part of that vision that was described earlier of really seeing that humanization, that humanity emerging over time. So we are focusing very much on that entry level, those monthly donors, the people that can start to make the difference, and over time will become those bigger donors. The second thing we're working on are the current donors who have already been supportive and thinking about how can we engage them to be thinking at a more inspired level and at a more meaningful level, and again, possibly at a more regular level, which adds up to a lot over time. And then looking at high level white glove, as we've talked about, very bespoke approaches to people to give them something that they could wrap their arms around and do something at a much higher level. I really feel that people are willing to listen right now. I think that the talk of humanization is very important to people in so many ways right now, because they've seen it erode at political levels, they've seen it erode around the world. And there are people that are feeling very, they aren't feeling empowered to see the change they thought was possible. And so if they can be finding an avenue that is very personal, where they can see impact, then I think that they will be ready to connect empathetically and connect with individuals. I did take your point, though, that transparency is important and being able to report back is important. So what I have seen in philanthropy is it's a very personal decision. When people give, they give with their heart and they give with their head, and they're giving part of themselves. Because the act of philanthropy is making part of your own legacy known by giving to let someone else carry out the actions. So that's where I think we need to focus on the relationship side. On the case, what's interesting is last week spent time with Shaki and Bob, and where we decided to focus the case was around lifting individuals, humanizing people, making a difference with individuals. The why CIDO, there is a track record, partnerships, governance in an area of heightened concern and visibility. There is no time like the present. People are watching, and there is no time like the president's. There's a practical means of making a difference. And I've talked about the personal outreach and the storytelling, the photos, the videos, the graphics. This will bring this to life. And the third area was the infrastructure. And I think Shaki's going to talk a bit about, in fact, it is the platform that we have. It is the vehicle that will carry these stories. It is the vehicle that will track the relationships with the donors and the potential donors. And it is a sustainable structure that can also inform strategy, because the data is immediately available. It's continuous, as opposed to getting a report and then thinking of its strategy. It's all built into the one thing. So that is the strategy that we've been building with Shaki, with Bob, with a number of people, and I look forward to working with the Marion Foundation, and happy to answer any questions, Shaki.
Thank you very much, Joanne. Many of us here are fundraisers, and I've raised a lot of funds over the past 50 years. This particular app that we're working on is really one of a kind, in a sense, because it captures everything and anything from the human part, and we are really excited about it. We've been meeting every Monday. Joanne is going to connect with Ernst, and
yes, and I would like to say something for Joanne. I always say this, like, since I started the Marian Foundation, that I truly believe it's more important for us to connect with people, to be friends with people, to have friends for the foundation and CIDO, and to believe in our cause in the beginning, and to listen first, not to give money at the beginning. After they believe in our cause and after they are connecting with us, the money will come after. So I really believe in this. This is like our way.
Wonderful, thank you.
Excellent. So we have, go ahead, Fred.
Many of us here in this room, in the same virtual room too, may remember a horrific picture from the Vietnam War, the little girl running. And that's just got, engraved in millions of people's memories. Today, we have many, many hundreds of similar pictures coming out of Gaza. And this is where it comes to, and it's like humanity, just remembering humanity will be a good a title to say, like, it's forgotten. It's people are immune to now seeing similar things. That one picture, like it was there.
Well, you know,
Millions of people remember.
the video with the little Palestinian child with cancer that you sent us a week or 2 weeks ago with his mother. That's very, very powerful, you know, a
Yes.
1 year old child with cancer and what have you. So we are tweaking the program. We're working on it. Inshallah, soon, you know, we will have it up and running. We are doing, as I said, a pilot project, and it's very exciting. We're very excited about
Secretary,
it.
I have one very quick question. Mohammed, how is the foundation known around the world, like in other countries? How many other countries, places that?
Well, we're like in Palestine, we represent the cancer patient in all over Palestine, like Gaza, West Bank, and also occupied by Israel. Also in Jordan, also in the US, we have the Friends of Mariam. In Chicago, in Atlanta, in New York, we have chapters, and in DC. In Europe, we're like less, but we're soon we're thinking of establishing the Friends of Mariam in the UK with the help of the Qattan Foundation and other partners.
Do you have connections to the Qatar Foundation?
Not Qatar Foundation, Qattan Foundation.
The Kahtan, the UK, they're
It's
big.
it's a Palestinian. It's a huge Palestinian foundation for art and very influential people, like and
The
very
reason
good
why
people.
I asked for Qatar, we can make.
No, we don't have a connection with the Qatar. We were happy to connect if you can connect us.
I think when it's all said and done, we will start reaching out to different organizations and to different institutions worldwide as CIDO is, you know, because once it's said and done, then we, you know, we'll have a lot of white glove lists, and we'll have excellent presentation. I want to move. I
have a really quick question. Just to
Speak up,
piggyback on what Joanne was saying in terms of connecting with the sort of younger generation from like 20s to 40s, millennials and so on, and knowing that right now everyone is listening, and there's a lot of people specifically on social media. I come from a social media marketing background. There's a lot of people on social media that are paying attention to what's happening right now. And there have been a lot of Palestinian influencers specifically that have been very vocal for the past year plus.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if you guys have ever engaged with any of them or tried to get them to sort of promote, whether it's Miriam Foundation or CIDO, just because that could be another way in to sort of capture more money and those like entry level donations.
Well, yes, we have many. We have artists. We have like Lina Hadid is one of our ambassadors. We have Mariam Saeed, the wife of the late Edward Said. She was very vocal about it. We have Rashida Tlaib, the congresswoman, also on board. And also many local influencers and singers, and Rula Azar and Omar Kamal, and yes, we have like, but not on a not like the influencers. It's like it's way still we have so much work to do about this concern.
Okay.
Okay. I want to talk quickly about CIDO and CIC. And I spoke to Don, who couldn't be here today, you know, that we do need, with the political environment internationally today, you know, we need to make sure that every 4 to 6 weeks, being the chair of program here, you know, I'm being pushed to make sure that we have something every 4 to 6 weeks, you know, and that will promote, whether be it health, whether be it politics or what have you. So everybody is on board with that, you know, and Ray as the president, who couldn't be here today, and I spoke to Don. So there's that. That's okay, John?
Yeah, I think what Don was talking about was a study group, which I think could be very, study group sounds so harmless, doesn't it? But in reality, they can be very effective and draw people in and have meetings and The one in Ottawa is really the major study group on the Middle East and Canada, for the branch there, and it has been, in fact, you know, the fellow who runs it, and it has a little bit of an arm's length relationship because we're non-partisan, and they are more partisan and they take up positions and present to parliamentary committees. But in terms of fundraising, go back to Joanne's point, which is so important. The person has to feel the issue, has to know and be a part of it, and what they're doing is their own personal participation, even if it's a financial one. They can't do it personally, they can't go there and do things, but what they can do is make that kind of contribution. So in that respect, I think that would be very useful, and that's what Don's proposing. Form a group here that would look at the broader issues, which heaven knows are highly significant now for all of us. And I guess the one thing that all of us know that in terms of what Fairden was saying, we have seen a lot of stuff on television, and it's pretty rough, and everybody's revealing as during the Vietnam War, but I'm surprised there hasn't been more in terms of contributions and even more direct political pressure in some ways, but I'm very surprised it hasn't been a greater sense of doing something that we could help to deal with this particular challenge, which is enormous. And I can understand, you know, aid does not get there, but in terms of the Meriam Foundation, they're doing things and they are acting directly and obviously accomplishing through donations to CIDO, partnerships you have. I've been getting the MCC stuff and the Rosanna stuff, so donated to them, and it's interesting to see what they're doing. And I think in many ways, you know, we are better prepared by our connections and our history.
Well, that's really what we're looking forward to when it's all said and done, is to shift in second gear and exactly do what really needs to be done, you know, because we have a good board, we have a good vision, we have a good partners, and you know, I want to turn the floor to Heather Baker to give us a quick report, you know, rundown on our fundraising report. Heather, are you there?
I'm here. I'm here.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get 5 minutes max.
Okay, I probably won't take that long.
Okay.
Bob Kovflesh asked me if I would speak to the fundraising report that got attached to the minutes or the agenda for today, which he has laid out here. And it's really very straightforward. The first part of it outlines the monies that have been raised and given to the Meriam Foundation, and if it's very straightforward with what's there. He did ask me to indicate to everyone that the line that says administration fee paid, that's the fee that CIDO has been paying to the Canada Helps fund that sometimes accepts our donations and then forwards them to us. That's what that $964 is. So there's the income that came from donations in 2023, 2024, the generous donations that have come in following Shawty's magnificent 75th birthday party, and I suspect there are more to come from that. And then the 25,000, leaving us with a balance of 10,000 that we can still go forward and work on. The other part of the report is the money that CIDO takes in on behalf of the Waterloo Region's Arab women's programs. CIDO acts as their donations receptacle. The money comes into CIDO and then is funneled out to the Arab women's programs. And there you can see $197,000 plus came in. CIDO retained 3,000 of it in fees for their work and have paid $194,116 to the Arab Women's Fund. So it's a very straightforward statement, and I think it looks very good and proves that things are happening.
Inshallah, by next year, this time, there will be a tremendously different report.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay. This, as far as year-end, speaking to our lawyer, you know, we are going to ask for an engagement We gonna need a vote here, guys.
What are you
Fair
gonna,
enough. We need a vote.
I vote for
We're
it.
gonna have an engagement rather than.
Just voted that he's going to give 100,000 donation.
That brings
No,
us.
I was just showing John because it's so timely. I mean, vote is vote. I have, like, as we are talking, you're invited, please, Bar-Ilan University, it's not too late. You can still, donate. And then it keeps coming and coming and coming. I think there is, I mean, I am so irritated because there are so many universities on our list. But I think we shouldn't apologize if we are aggressive in fundraising. Just
No.
every week, just, hey, one of these days you will say, okay, I'm gonna do it.
And does CIDO do that? Do you guys have an email list that you're sending
Yes.
emails out to?
I'm just going to jump in. That's exactly what we've been doing.
Okay.
Is we've been downloading all of the all of Shaki's information. We've been downloading all of the donors. So we've got it all embedded. There's some pretty impressive tags that can be set up so that we can be sending these out. And what we're working towards right now is getting these stories. So I'm going to talk to you after.
Yeah, I was just gonna
okay. And I want to get these stories because I think that what John said, I think there's too much noise. People get overwhelmed and they don't know where to turn. Like and my connection with this fellow with this platform happened at a pop-up and I made a donation to Gaza and she said, this is the guy that runs our site. So all of a sudden we made this connection, but it was an act of one. And so I want to get as many reaches as we can to get an act of one. Yeah.
We are gonna take a vote. We will have an engagement with our accountants rather than an audit, and Don Bourgeois is fine with that. So, for new business, we're gonna move into our second part of the meeting. And the second part of the meeting, and very, very soon, in a couple of minutes, we are going to welcome, I think to me, is one of, if not the best foreign affairs minister that this country ever had, to talk about something that is needed, that we identified, that I've been working on and wanting to do. And that is the fact that what the Palestinian people are going through, they're going through a conundrum, and there is a need for change, in leadership, a need for change in the whole scenario. And we talked about trying to identify young Palestinian leaders in Gaza and the West Bank to bring them to Canada, partner with Carleton University, the parliamentary committee at the House of Commons to train them and what have you. Something very, very, very close to the heart. I'm also very happy to announce, I think the former foreign affairs minister to the PLO, and he was at the United Nations. Nasser Al-Qudwa is also going to join us from Ramallah. And Nasser, Mr. Axworthy met him in Switzerland 2-3 weeks ago, and they talked about what Lloyd and I discussed, and he's very, very interested. So I'm very pleased to have him. So I want to check and see if
it's on.
we have.
There he is. He's on.
Mr. Axworthy, welcome on board.
Hello, Shorty. How are you? How's everybody?
We are excellent, thank you.
Good, good.
To see if,
Shaki, before we move on, did we actually vote on something? Did you want us to vote on something?
we voted on the, rather than having an audit at the end of the year, we will have an engagement done,
Right. So do we need to formally move and second and vote on that?
I think
You wanna listen to Lloyd
Fred
Axworthy?
John seconded.
Okay.
He's coming on now.
Why don't we take a vote on it? Sheridan is out, so I can put the motion through. And I need a seconder.
I'll second.
John English?
Voted for it already.
I thought that, but that's okay. That was a very, very good meeting. And we have just finished our business, Mr. Exworthy, and I'm just going to very quickly, introduce you. I did talk briefly about the fact that our discussion in this very, very room about trying to create hope for the Palestinian people by trying to enlighten and teach and advise and in governance for young Palestinian leadership. So before I allow Mr. Exworthy, to all of the participants and all of the guests, by the way, we have Dr. Nasser here, University of Waterloo, that sits on the Senate. He's a Yankee, Palestinian, American, teaches at the University of Waterloo for over, 10 years, 12 years? 10 years. Okay, ahlan wa sahlan, welcome. So we have others that are online. So, it gives me great pleasure to actually welcome, to me, I think he was one of the best, if not the best, foreign affairs minister that this country ever had. I've had the pleasure and honor to work with Mr. Exworthy when he was foreign affairs minister in the 90s. As foreign affairs minister, he created the following. The Ottawa Treaty on Anti-Personnel Landmines came about because Lloyd Exworthy took a courageous stand against the great powers for humanity. The battle against cluster munitions and child soldiers, which he led and goes on today. The Commission of State Sovereignty and Intervention, which led to the United Nations acceptance of responsibility to protect the R2P. The creation of an international criminal court, which strikes directly at those who abuse their power. The ICC is an enormous achievement where Lloyd and others have stood up for the weak against the powerful. As I said, I met Mr. Exworthy in the 90s as an advisor, when he kept Canada deeply involved in the Oslo Accords and the efforts to find peace in the Middle East. He boldly opened the Canadian Representative Office in Ramallah and generously funded Middle East and North African summits that brought together business in the Middle East in the hope of a broader cooperation. Canada, under Lloyd Exworthy, actually was the gavel holder of one of the 5 committees that were founded through the Oslo Agreement. And Canada had, we were the gavel holders, and we had our first meeting on October, come on in, everybody, on October the 14th in Tunis, when the Canadian delegation went to Tunis. Lloyd is also successful president of the University of Winnipeg and the chancellor of the college where we are. And that was the speech that I gave at United Way. So without further ado, actually on behalf of the CIDO board and on behalf of some members of the Foundation for Palestinian Studies that are joining us, I would like us to welcome the best. Maybe you in person, we can flip a coin. Mr. Lloyd Exworthy. Sir.
Well, thank you, Sharky. I'm surprised that John English doesn't have his hand up already, suggesting that there was another, but somebody else called Mike Pearson, who had a pretty good run at Foreign Affairs, and as I've written about, was my inspiration. When I was 17 years old and met him or watched him speak at a downtown auditorium in Winnipeg about what it meant to be a Canadian and what Canada could do in the world. And it seems very prophetic when I think back on listening to him back in 1957 and 58, where we are today, where I think that very existence as a country is being challenged, and both in direct terms by our friendly neighbor to the south, but also I think in the way in which we govern ourselves and the kind of external threats and risks. I don't think anybody can who's spend any time in front of their TV or their monitor watching what's happening in Los Angeles, not to be horrified at once again the demonstration of just how vulnerable the world is and how ill prepared we are to deal with it, and just how much hypocrisy and sophistry there is being thrown around by somebody in the political community about something that is just, I guess, if there's ever been a modern day version of the apocalypse, but it's not unique. We've seen the same things in Greece, the same things in our own country, in Alberta and British Columbia. Same things of kind of desolation is taking place in the Middle East itself, where the level of drought and famine has reached new historic proportions. And yet we keep on doing business pretty much the way it is. We still consume more fossil fuel than we've ever consumed before. And we now have a United States government where the motto is drill, baby, drill. And that's being echoed by the conservative leader in Canada who says that the way that Canada will grow is by selling more gas and oil to the world. So I start with a little bit of that pessimistic tone, but at the same time, you know, I know this sounds strange, uh, but I think we're really at a turning point towards a better sort of way to govern and the way we deal. As somebody who's a longtime liberal, I think I'm going to be blunt. It's refreshing to think that we will be able to elect new leadership, take a new start. Um, Certainly respect what's been done, but realize that uh, that story that began 10 years ago has come to an end. And the fact that we now have a chance to sort of have new faces, fresh ideas appearing, uh, that the media will be talking not nonstop about how do you get rid of an old leader, but how do you elect a new leader. Uh, so there's a kind of current of some political electricity going on that I think is very worthwhile, and I think that all the doom and gloom that we read in the Globe and Mail and other places about Canada being weakened, Canada being out of sorts. I think what they're not saying is that there's now a rehabilitation available. I think we're ready to go, and I say that because I think there's a tendency for too many in this country to immediately assume that having a major sort of contest with the United States under the leadership of Mr. Trump is going to be our death knell, that we're going to be weakened, we're going to be economically sort of reduced, maybe. I think to me it's a call for Canada to wake up. It's a clarion call to begin to see that it's a good time to make some changes about who we trade with, who we talk to, who we work with. It doesn't mean to say that we're going to go to the barricades, but it does mean that we can start thinking that maybe for overly long we've been far too dependent on our reliance on the United States, and that now that they have proven to be untrustworthy, we're going to have to change our narrative a little bit. So I think this gathering that you brought together, is timely because it's probably. I'm hoping there's going to be conversations in lots of places around the country about where do we go from here and what are the options. I think when I read very carefully the transcript that Pierre Poilievre gave in his interview with Jordan Peterson last week, it was quite shocking to realize just how much he's become an echo chamber for Trump type ideas. Let's go after the elite, meaning let's cancel the CBC. Let's go after the universities. Let's go after the institutions that have given this country some stability, some foundation. Let's get rid of any rules and regulations on the environment. Let's downplay any role internationally on development or cooperation. Not a very healthy recipe, and so I think there should be some stimulus to see that there is an alternative and not to buy into this kind of view that is all of a sudden we should be shaking at our knees. And I think that's very true, as I can say to this group about it does mean we have to start thinking a little bit out of the box and start putting our creative powers to work. And as a group that has been deeply involved in Middle East issues, very deeply committed to protecting human rights of Palestinians and others, that there is an opportunity. And I go back to the discussion we had in that very office that you're sitting in, 4 weeks ago, I guess, shocking, about what your foundation might be able to, excuse me, offer. And what immediately came to mind was the discussion to be having. I think you mentioned when I came on air that I'd had the meeting with the former foreign minister for the Palestinian Authority and a meeting
Sorry, Lloyd, by the way, I just noticed he has been on and he's listening. And after you finish, I will introduce him to say a couple of words.
Oh, that's great. Well, no, having Nasser here is terrific.
Ahlan wa sahlan. We have with us Nasser Al-Kidwa, the former Foreign Affairs Minister to the PLO. He's listening. Go ahead.
And I think in listening to him and actually to you and others, what struck me is that there has to be some investment in how the Palestinians can return and resume a much higher level of governance and independence. That there has to be sort of people with skills and with knowledge who can start putting it back together. It's going to be a huge, horrendous job. I know. I'm afraid we're still at the stage until the Prime Minister of Israel decides to end his conflicts. But there will be eventually the need to provide some hope and some trust. And the one way to do it, I think, is as true for Palestinians as it is for Canadians. We have to make sure that young men and women are given the tools and the skills and the support to go to work, to start using their energy and their new insights. And so the idea of considering a training program for young Palestinian men and women to come to Canada and to learn from us some of the governance lessons that we've learned. Jean Chrétien, in his wonderful essay in the Globe and Mail in the weekend, put it carefully, is that one thing about Canadians, we have over time learned how to make it work. We've learned how to get together. We've learned how to that accommodation and institutions of tolerance and non-discrimination can actually be an asset. And we're not part of that crowd who says any attempt to provide support for the people who are dispossessed, to provide new opportunities for those who are on the low income scale, who provide opening of opportunities for those who've been discriminated against. Let's think, let's begin to think constructively where we go from here. And so I'm really honored that you've asked me to join you today to talk about this initiative, which I think would not only be in a very practical way, one of the building blocks that that you can offer and we can offer as Canadians to the eventual rejuvenation of Palestine. Here's my friend Nasser. How are you? Showing up on the screen. Good. But also, I think it'd be good for our country to start realizing that there's a lot of work to do, and that we have certain resources and abilities to help others. And I think that the idea of beginning to establish a program of training and education on governance, on administration, on how to make things work, how to get things done, how to do it in a democratic way, how to do it in a way of accountability, is a good start that I think could become copied and used by many other countries, other organizations, other groups around the world. Because I really think that those who have been suffering so deeply over the I have a fire alarm going on, and so just hold it for a minute. I've been told that I can stay in the chair. So if you see any flames looking behind me, let me know. But so I won't prolong it. I'm simply saying that I think this is an opportunity for some very creative and serious work at rebuilding, at rethinking, and that we're fortunate that the foundation is willing to consider that and to set up partnerships with the universities and others to you can hear that?
No.
I can hear it.
I think our building manager is a conservative. Anyway, let me leave it at that and open it up. And I certainly want to hear from Nasser and any questions I can answer or any further thoughts I'd be happy to. But to simply want to encourage your board to take this kind of initiative on and establish a new pathway that I think will provide a model for potentially even for the government of Canada, whomever eventually is the government of Canada, to take on and follow.
I'm going to take a moment and introduce Mr. Kidwab, and then we will open it for discussion. We're very pleased and honored that you are joining us, Abu Jarir. Mr. Kidwa has represented the Palestinian people on very many different levels, from starting as a dentist, graduating as a dentist, and heading the Palestinian Student Association, and moving on to join Fatah and representing his late Allah yarhamu, uncle Yasser Arafat, and moved the process forward. He was at the United Nations representing the PLO for many years. He was always he was also appointed and worked with Kofi Annan on the Afghanistan file, and then roll it forward to 2021 when there was supposed to be an election. Nasser decided to actually table a list, an independent list, Well, I guess Mr. Abbas did not like that, and they turfed him out of the PLO committee. And I'm speaking frankly here, I don't have any notes in front of me, Yani, but what in July of last year, I believe July the 17th or so, him and Ehud Olmert put together sort of a roadmap, with different ingredients, how to move the process forward, creating a temporary task force, creating a governing body of technocrats rather than, with commissioners that they report to. So it was a very good, excellent starting point, because by the end of the day, the Palestinians and the Israelis are condemned to live together. I hate to use the word condemned, but we have no choice, which brings us to the fact that coexistence has got to happen, and we have got to try and find a way. For 50 years, I have worked towards that goal, reaching out and trying to see what can be done to do that. So, Mr. Kudwa, I want to commend you and congratulate you on the on your courageous, actually, step to put out that decree with Ehud Olmert, and I believe in your belief for the Palestinian people, and I'm going to say it out loud: this current leadership has been a failure. Unfortunately, they must go, as you told Amanpour in your interview. So I am going to ask you to give us a couple of words. Ahlan wa sahlan, Abu Jarir. Welcome on board. We really appreciate you joining us. And I'm truly, truly honored that you and Lloyd met together in Switzerland, and this is really a culmination and actually a moving forward as an outcome for CIDO. And yes, we will be moving the process forward 100%. Mr. Al-Qudwa, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shawqi Fahil, and thank you for the invitation, and of course for giving me the opportunity to be with such distinguished group of people, and I might add also to listen to Mr. Axworthy, whom I knew since I was the ambassador to the United Nations, and frankly, he was more senior, and he was one of the paragons of the international diplomacy. And I would say he was the reasons why I liked and respected Canada a lot. And in this regard, I think probably if I am to indicate his most important achievement from my point of view, it was the upholding of international law, including international humanitarian law. If Canada was known for something, it was known for this. And I think it's very important for the Canadian to continue upholding international humanitarian law in particular, because this is what gives Canada the importance of what the experience showed. Now, while it is not my business, but allow me to say that while your neighbor in the south might have pressed you a little bit, but I feel as a politician, maybe kind of opportunity in what he says. And using this opportunity might not take the normal way. I think it should take the way of a rising Canadian nationalism, which is not typically liberal, democratic, blah, 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 blah. But in this case, I think it could be useful to make it central. The slogan of "We proud Canadians want to remain independent and we want to remain Canadians." It is not very clear politically and ideologically, but I think using it for the elections, the coming elections, might be the way forward. Anyway, my apologies for getting into this because you know your internal affairs much better than I. I just wanted to say that I look upward for Mr. Axworthy, and I think that his experience should provide the accurate and the proper example for all of us. At least for me, it's like that. The second point I want to mention very quickly is that, you know, as you probably heard today, there is much talks about what's happening in Gaza and the possibility of an agreement and things like that. At the same time, there is something that's not correct. That's not workable. And it seems to me the result will be partial agreement in the form of comprehensive agreement, but in reality it is not. It's only partial agreement for the coming, let's say, 42, 45 days, during which there will be partial exchange of hostages, prisoners, and then we'll go back, unfortunately, to the war again. So some people will be very happy of the results, but maybe we should be careful about our happiness, and that we need to celebrate the achievements while at the same time be careful that, you know, some wrong things could happen in the future. And again, I think the Palestinian people, especially in Gaza, will remain in need for the international solidarity and international support, especially the part coming from Canada and Canadians. Finally, the initiative that Mr. Axworthy referred to, and that your board is keen about, I think is worth support and worth exploring further. And I think from my side, I would be ready to help and to provide any necessary information, any necessary steps that you might find appropriate. Anyway, I took longer than I planned to do that, but thank you again, and thank you, Shawki, thank you all, and thank you in particular to Mr. Axworthy. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much for your candid analysis. I do hope it will be more than 45 days, but you know, as we say, inshallah, God willing, that will happen for the sake of humanity, for the sake of both Israelis and Palestinians. So I'd like to open the floor now, if I can, and hopefully maybe also Mr. Al-Kidwa, if there's any questions for you, I would hope that you can participate in this. Mr. Axworthy, again, thank you very, very much. Very nice to hear an old guard Palestinian talking about Canada, when Canada used to, as we said, they used to hit above the waist, you know. The Palestinians in the 90s, you know, we were the most respected country next to the Scandinavians in the world. In Palestine, we had a Canada House. Remember, Lloyd, in Gaza, you know, and it's very unfortunate that things have changed and what have you. But we do have an opportunity here. On behalf of the board, we will be pursuing it. As you know, Lloyd, I've already been in touch with Alan Thompson, Carleton University. He's on board. I put a call to Zahira, who is the head of the parliamentary committee of the Friends of Palestine in the House of Commons, since they have recess. So, gentlemen and ladies, the floor is open for any questions, any comments, or, this is a good discussion here, So, Faddalu. And by the way, the ones that are on board there, David Vivish, there's your old boss, David. David Vivish used to be our representative in Ramallah when you were the foreign affairs minister, I believe.
Shockey,
I think I'm off mute now.
Shockey, Alan Thompson was on the call there a few minutes ago. I don't know whether he's still on the call or not.
Oh, that's the one I cut off. He said he will participate on the phone.
Yeah, he's been on for about a half an hour.
Has he been on?
I don't
Well, you
see,
heard what we're
I don't
saying.
see him on the call now.
I think he's disappeared from the screen.
You guys know it. Shit.
We lost him.
Yeah, while we were waiting to both former foreign ministers, where do you see the role of the United Nations coming back in? Because it's kind of they made it that way that it's eroded, and whatever they put forward kind of pushed aside. What will it take for the United Nations to come back in and remind everybody the international rules of law?
If you indulge me, I'd like to simply repeat an idea that Alan Rock and Professor Michael Manulik, we wrote a fairly long essay in Foreign Affairs magazine, which is highly regarded, saying that we should start considering invigorating the trusteeship council to begin taking over the work of establishing in Gaza and West Bank a form of governance. The trusteeship council was primarily set up, but it's a major council. It has equivalent standing to the Security Council, but it was used to provide the transition for colonial states who were just emerging from their colonial history into becoming independent. So there's a track record there, but they have the significant powers and abilities to do it. And it was quite interesting that when Nasser and I were at this meeting of the Aspen Ministerial Group, several people raised that as an option. However, it does take some country to put the idea forward and start developing groups who will support it. You need champions. So I would put that as a table to consider that the UN could play a very valuable role in giving a framework in which the rebuilding could take place, so that it wouldn't be a question of who's dominant, whether it's and give time then to start building a government that is representative and accountable and meets those kinds of criteria. And so I put that on the table. And if anybody wanted to follow it further, you could refer back to the Foreign Affairs Quarterly of about 2 months ago.
Okay.
Nasser, in his partnership with Hood Olmert, one of the four things he talked about the creation of a donor conference.
Yes.
A donor conference, and I'm just curious, first of all, the United Nations consider a mini Marshall Plan. A mini Marshall
Well, yes,
Plan.
of course. That's
Reconstruction.
going to be needed anyway, and of course we need lots of money to rebuild. I wouldn't use even the term reconstruct Gaza, but to rebuild Gaza from the current burn situation that Gazans are suffering. But if I understood correctly, the question was a little bit broader than that. It's not how the UN could do good for the Palestinian side, but how we can improve the UN in general and bring it back to what it used to be, to function appropriately with regard to the Palestinian issue and with regard to other issues as well. And in this regard, I spent the better part of my life at the UN, and I like it as an organization. But I would say that the UN, at the end of the day, is the sum of its members. If its members don't care about international law, then the UN doesn't care about the international law. It's as simple as that. And frankly, the UN was built in a way to ensure the interest of the 5 permanent members of the Security Council. The central piece of the UN is the Security Council, and it is the rotten piece, and it's not going to be reformed. Now, I am saying some bold things here, but please forgive me for that. But I believe in this. It's not going to happen because for it to happen, you need a new world war. You need a new system. You need a new, structure of the United Nations. As long as the current structure is in place, no way. How many of us, for instance, heard ever of the rule in the Charter of the United Nations that prevent a member of the Security Council from the vote if it is party to a conflict? Nobody.
Oh.
Nobody. And that includes the permanent members. Why we didn't hear about it? Because each permanent members cover for the others because, maybe later on his turn will come and it will be the other way around. So bottom line is, as long as the Security Council remains the same, the UN will remain the same. And this is very unfortunate fact, but it's a fact. Now we can improve it a little bit. We can struggle. We can push our respective countries to be more responsive and to be more keen about international law, about international humanitarian law and things like that. So we can improve the situation a little bit. But to change the situation in a dramatic way, again, I'm sorry to say it, but I don't think it's going to happen. Now, with regard to the idea of the UN and the Trusteeship Council, it's worth exploring, but I doubt it, frankly. I doubt it because of the same reason. The US will not allow something like this to happen. And at the end of the day, whether it is Security Council resolution under Chapter 7 or, new plan devised by Trusteeship Council, it's the same thing. Whether we have the capacity to do that or not is the question. And unfortunately, we don't have the capacity because the UN is publicly in front of all in the world, everybody in the world says no and provide this automatic protection to the Israelis, irrespective of what they do, the horrible things they do. And accordingly, it's not going to change this behavior unless there is big things happening and we are not living in the world of the big things.
I would just put a footnote. At one point in time, Canada did put forward a proposal for reform of the Security Council, based on the idea that the membership would be based on regional election, and so Africa, the Americas, Asia would each have a set number of permanent seats, and that they would take care of the election from their own region as to who they want. So if the Africans want to keep Nigeria and South Africa or whomever or Egypt in that seat, then they can do so. If they want to change it, they have a right. There's a certain electoral way of doing it, and that way you deal with one of the great sort of malfunctions of the Security Council, and that is that it's based upon World War II political realities, not the way the world is today. And so there's just not a buy-in. And I would like to think that there might be a process of change that doesn't require to have a world war. I certainly can see the reasoning behind that, but right now we can't afford a world war because a world war would be fought with nuclear weapons, and at that
We
point,
don't want it anyway.
yeah, that's right. So exactly. So we're, but I think that I would still take the position that it's worth chipping away and seeing if there can be some change. Because I think with what's happening now, it may be the UN ends up representing not all the countries of the world, but those who have some common standards. And it is and maybe it breaks into more regional kind of compacts. Because I certainly agree that right now, the problem is that the UN structurally provides a number of absolutely necessary international activities, health, food relief, environment, all kinds of things that they sponsor and that we all benefit from. But when it comes to security and rights, it's a failure, and for the reason that Nasser pointed out. So the question is, how do you keep the baby and throw out the bathwater? And
Mhm. Go ahead, Mesa.
Thank you very much for the presentation. And I'm sorry that the picture doesn't look that rosy with regards to the world order, the United Nations, and even the IHL. But I have a very specific question, and I think Ambassador Nasser and also former Mr. Lloyd Axworthy can answer this from your experience with the International Council of Refugees in particular. This is an area that I would like to ask about. Knowing that the UNRWA is at the moment is under attack. Yeah. And it's the only organization that is helping Palestinian refugees in the region and around the world with regards to education, healthcare, and other financial support. And seeing the UNRWA coming under that brutal attack, and maybe we will reach a day that is coming near, not that far, that the UNRWA will not be able to operate. And if we examine the history of establishing the UNRWA, we know that for a particular thing, which is helping Palestinian refugees. Will there be any possibility moving Palestinian refugees from the mandate of UNRWA to be under the mandate of the UNHCR, like other refugees around the world, so they can benefit from the support of the international system for protecting refugees in some ways? And also that will bring the discussion about durable solutions that will be accepted by the Palestinians themselves. So my question is here very specific, but it's very much related to your experiences with regards to the United Nations and the refugees themselves. Thank you.
Okay. Listen, just by way of background, the Palestinian people and Arabs in general, we have never liked UNRWA.
I know. That's the crisis, actually.
And we have never paid for UNRWA. We have never called for payment for UNRWA. And why is that? Because in our mind, UNRWA was created as a substitute to the right of return.
Exactly.
Contrary to what's being said now by some stupid guys, officials that they don't know what they are saying. They say that they are now attacking UNRWA to liquidate the right of return. This is not true. Actually, UNRWA, from our point of view, was the substitute, was the alternative solution for the right of return. And that is why it remained a Western responsibility. Now, the Israelis now want to liquidate UNRWA. Why? Not to attack the right of return, but to liquidate the existence of the problem that is called Palestinian refugees or Palestine refugees. To negate the existence of those refugees, to end it totally, in addition to certain goals in Gaza itself pertaining to the mass deportation of people, including refugees and things like that. Now, what's the solution now? Solution, in my opinion, is not, with all due respect, changing the organization from UNRWA to High Commissioner of Refugees. The solution is to confront the Israeli government, the illegal actions by the Israeli government. That's the only possible solution. For instance, now what the American administration is saying, you know what? If the Israeli laws enter into action, it is going to lead to catastrophic results, which requires keeping the law from entering into force, meaning keeping the sword on the head of the organization. At best, even if the Israelis accept that kind of solution, these are not solutions. You need to tell the Israelis what you did was illegal, and accordingly, it is not acceptable, and there is punishment for it. There is action that should be taken and will be taken against you at the United Nations as a result of that. Not only what you did to UNRWA, but what you did to the UN in general. I mean, the fact that they declared the Secretary General in a very outrageous step as persona non grata, that the fact that the ambassadors in a very impolite way shredded the charter of the United Nations in front of everybody, of all members of the UN, and so on and so forth. So they did not stop attacking the UN as a whole. And the only way to deal with the situation is to hold them accountable and to say that illegal actions should be confronted and should be stopped, and we are going to stop it. That's the only way forward.
Let me weigh in a little bit. I certainly agree, but as Shockey pointed out, during the 90s, Canada held the gavel for refugees. So one of my responsibilities was to go around to the Arab states and see what kind of contributions they would make to UNRWA. And Naz is perfectly right. They were about as stingy as my old Aunt Martha. They just did not want to contribute, which was their political choice. And it points to the fundamental weakness that also the UNHCR has, is that these are agencies that depend upon donations. It's like holding a fundraiser for your daughter's spring prom. Right now, the UNHCR has donations only 30% of its required needs. Large numbers of refugees in camps around the world are basically cut back to basic rations because they can't afford full meals. The educational health systems are being abandoned because, again, and I think Canada still is a contributor, but there's a period when there had to be a little shakeup there, and fortunately, our Minister of International Development, Hassan, understood very well that this was a humanitarian crisis. So I agree. I'm not sure the organizational system is the right one, and whether certainly you can't replace it with UNHCR because it's about as broke and as demoralized as UNRWA is. But I do agree with what Nasser said. I think there has to be a much stronger political challenge, confrontation with the Israelis. I mean, they're breaking every international rule in the book. I mean, the bombing of civilians, I think, is the and complicity of the Americans in supplying those weapons is clearly an international crime. But they get away with it. I mean, they just have this kind of it's almost Trump-like the way they can evade accountability on these kinds of issues. Will it continue to be? I just don't know. I mean, I think with Trump coming into the U.S. government, there certainly isn't going to be a more favorable view of either the United Nations or the Palestinian issue. I mean, their evangelicals have wrapped them up tight that this is the third coming to prepare for. So I have to say, I really hit a wall when it comes to. I'm going to be on a panel with Bob Ray in about 2 weeks at the University of Manitoba, which is holding a conference on the UN 80th birthday. And what do we do? What do we say? And I'm going to be interested in what our ambassador has to say. But I know what I'm going to say is that we really have to. I simply have a simple. I think we have to become deeply re-engaged with the UN. We have basically under Harper, the Canadian government was disdainful about the UN. Under Justin Trudeau, it's been slightly indifferent, and there's just no game plan. I think the ambassadors having to make up their own rules as they go along. There's no real commitment at head office about the United Nations. It says something. We'll show up and give a speech, have an ambassador who is highly qualified, but doesn't have any game plan. And I think it goes back to the reality that domestic politics, who you choose to govern, has a very important outcome for things like the United Nations. And right now, I can't see any strong sentiment or movement in this country to become engaged. But maybe new leadership could do it, and I guess that's why we have a democratic system, is that we can change governments from time to time, and if we change them, maybe we can get lucky, and maybe Mike, maybe there's a rendition of Mike Pearson who comes back.
Well, I think, Lloyd, to bring it back to a little bit more optimistic tone, our world, we've gone through many dark periods, and they somehow ended, and then better days, brighter days came. And I'm hoping that, I don't know what that will be, but something will make things change, turn around. And I hope that they will come sooner than later. And then it will turn the favor of the Palestinian people and the rest of the world. Right now,
Right.
are in a way held hostage by one country. And then the other country is absolutely encouraged, empowered by that country. So things will change somehow. And we use the word democracy several times. I think it's a very powerful way of moving forward. And I believe that at least, if not more, of course, half of the people in the United States truly believe in that, and many of our people in our country believe in that. I think we will move forward. And yes, Palestinians have been suffering for a long time, and this is probably a peak of their suffering we're seeing right now, and hopefully it will end very soon. One way or another. So
I'm going to have to leave in a few minutes, but I have another Zoom in 5 minutes on my railway commission that I have to deal with. But let me make this point. If you're looking for some points of light, start taking a look at the younger generation. They're one of the reasons why they're so detached from politics is because our political parties are not dealing with the issues that they really matter to them. And I think we've seen that in the protests. And excuse me. We've seen it in the issues on the environment. We've seen the issues on the economy. There's a feeling that they're tired of top-down government. That's really fed up with having, sort of charismatic leadership that talks a good game but doesn't deliver. And I really think if here's where I begin, and I take some encouragement is that with things now being shaken up, with a change in my own party, the Liberal Party, in leadership, then I think this is a chance. I don't know who the leader will be, but I think there's a chance that we might, and I would start with reforming the Liberal Party itself, making it more representative, more open, more diversified, and to break out of the kind of Laurentian mentality that's dictated it for so long. And that's where you start. You start at the grassroots. I mean, as I write in my book, I mean, cut my teeth in civil rights movements in the United States. Well, I believed ever since that there's a power of people on the street, and I think now it's up to our political system, our political agencies to tap into that feeling.
Well, Lloyd, John Turner's main forte was how we can try to attract young Canadians to vote, when our percentages were so very low. So, and you said to me in this room here, you used to be a liberal, but the Liberal Party walked away from you and me.
Right.
So it's very nice to see that there is, inshallah, hopefully there is a rejuvenation, and resuscitation of the Liberal Party with the upcoming leadership. It has to be from the bottom top, not top down, and we have to cater to the young generation and see how we can try to gravitate them and have them join us. To all the participants that are here, to all the participants that are on the Zoom, wherever you are, to Mr. Kidwa, I truly, on behalf of my board, want to thank you very, very much. Allow me to also say it is a new year, a new beginning, a new hope, inshallah, and a very, very a new year for the Palestinian people in Gaza, the West Bank, and the worldwide. A very happy new year. Shukran. Thank you, merci. And have yourself a wonderful evening, a wonderful day, wherever you are. Okay?
Good luck. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much. My
Thank you.
blessings. Bye-bye.
Assalamu alaikum.